listening to Reinvented. I'm your host, Jen Eckhart. I have a question for my viewers and listeners. If you were to define what it means to live a legendary life, what would you say? For some, that might mean having a successful career. To others, it might mean getting married and starting a family. Maybe it's leaving a legacy, a lasting mark on this earth by coming up with a world-changing product, company, or idea. Or maybe living a legendary life to you is simply just being a good person. Just like the Avicii song goes. Avicii song goes. One day you'll leave this world behind, so live a life you will remember. Well, my next guest on this podcast helps people do just that, live legendary lives. So much so that he's actually host of the Legendary Life podcast. He's a leading personal trainer and peak performance health coach who has worked with Fortune 500 CEOs, professionals, celebrities, including Richard Branson, Ricky Martin, and Robert Downey Jr. It is an honor welcoming my friend, someone I deeply admire on this podcast, Ted Ryce. Welcome to Reinvented.
Thanks so much, Jen. Happy to be here. And it's been a long time coming.
It has. I'm actually glad we were able to nail this down because I have to say, you're kind of hard to pin down on the calendar because you're either in Brazil, jumping out of airplanes, diving with bull sharks, speaking on stages across the country, or riding roller coasters at Universal Studios.
Yeah, that's how I do. That's what I do, and I know we're kind of starting that way and it sounds like, oh man, this guy's going to be annoying. He just does all this cool stuff. But there's a deeper meaning or deeper reason behind all that. And I know we've already talked about it. We're going to get into that today, but yeah, I've chosen to live life like this. And it's been very therapeutic.
Absolutely. Well, you've chosen to live a legendary life. Am I wrong?
My version of it, for sure. For sure.
I'm excited to have you on my show, Reinvented, because to me, you are not only a legendary person who happens to also ride roller coasters in his free time, but you have a remarkable, jaw-dropping story of reinvention, Ted, in the aftermath of enduring unspeakable tragedy. Now, I don't mean to start this podcast off on a negative note. We're going to obviously get to some positive territory, but I think it's important for my viewers and listeners to understand our connection and how we came to know one another. Now, for those who aren't familiar with your incredible story and your path to becoming a high performance person, it was beset by tragedy that you personally needed to overcome. Like you said, you do all these things. It's therapeutic for you. Are you able to share a timeline starting from like 1991 and really walk us through what you've been through and what you've managed to overcome to get to where you are today?
Yeah. And it starts way before that, right? My mother was mentally ill to the point where my dad had to leave her, my biological mother. And in those days, in the 80s, that was unheard of, right? The parents would stay with the father, but she was emotionally abusive, physically abusive, and it wasn't her fault. She was very mentally ill. But, as I realized later on in life, like that's the root of everything that happened.
Right.
But she died in 1991 in a car accident. And during a weekend that I was supposed to go over to visit her with my sister, but she was a chain smoker. A lot of people who are very mentally ill use cigarettes, use nicotine to kind of keep themselves, to stimulate it.
Right.
And I didn't want to go over there, breathe in smoke. It was depressing. I was 13 or 13 or 14. And she ended up dying. And I always say she died in a car accident, but there wasn't any other car involved. She ran off the road straight into a tree. It was really a suicide. And I came to realize that later on. But that started, and to put context into that, my father and my stepmother, who are like heroes to so many people, and rightfully so with what they've done, but they got laws changed. They met with two presidents, George Bush, Bill Clinton and George Bush. And, but they were growing up with them, they were alcoholics, they were workaholics, they were emotionally abusive. I mean, I love my parent, I love them, but the truth is the truth. So in the context of all that, 14 years old, my mom, my biological mother dies. I've got these parents who are just checked out emotionally, because that's what happens when you do drugs like alcohol. Constantly you disconnect. And instead of putting me into therapy, they sat me down, told me what happened, and just expected that I'd get over it. So what I did was I started using drugs, started smoking weed, got arrested a bunch of times, and those are for only the things that I got caught for. Ended up stealing a car, running away from home. It was an interesting time. And eventually I started to pull my act together. When I was 18, I had to be put in special programs just to make it through high school. And as soon as I got into college, I had to go to community college because my grades were so bad. Even though my test scores were high, like I was king at skipping. I had an A+ in skipping class and smoking weed.
Miami-Dade Community College, was that the one?
I did go to that one. Yes, that exactly.
We have that in common. I did like a summer school class there. I had to take math there. Anyway, continue with your amazing story.
So right as I'm starting to pull my life together, because I'm out of my house, my parents very wisely realized like we were just clashing too much. So they're like, you don't have to live on the street, but you can't stay here. Here's an apartment in Kendall. Very grateful for it. And I started pulling my life together. I love being in college and choosing my classes. I felt I needed to be in control. And that's probably why I run a business today. I'm completely unemployable. I can't hold down a job, so I got to work for myself. Anyway, just as that was starting to happen, I skipped school again one day because my parents were out of town, and I was going to meet my friend Fred down at my parents' house in the Redlands. And my brother, my little 9-year-old brother, wasn't home. And my parents called and they didn't expect me to pick up the phone. I'm like, yeah, what's up? Yeah, party time. You guys are right. I mean, I didn't say that to him, but I was like, yeah. And then they asked like, hey, where's Jim? Where's Jimmy? And I said, oh, he's not here yet. And I was speaking to my stepmom. She freaked out right away. And I was just like, yeah, look, he's just not here. It's not that big of a deal. But something in her said, I gotta come home right away. And they did. And the cops got involved. We called the police, a search started, and we didn't find him that day. And it became a long, or what seemed like a very long process of, Jennifer, I don't know if you know the whole story, but the FBI got involved. I was interrogated, interrogated the whole family.
I'm sitting here crying because I am very familiar with the story, but I know that a lot of my viewers and listeners out there aren't. And I just love hearing, as difficult as it may be, and I know it is for you. Each time you recount this story and have to live it over and over, it's not lost on me how difficult it is, but it is important to share these stories. And like you said, like your father was instrumental in getting legislation passed by presidents and has helped so many along the way. But as crazy as this sounds, and I'll let you continue with the story, but I really have always felt a strong connection to your family, even though we've never even met. And I don't know if it has to do with us both growing up in, the South Florida community. My brother was just a year younger than yours at the time that this happened. And eerily enough, his name was also Jimmy. And I think that's why it really struck a chord with me even at the age of 5 years old. But continue. So in 1995, explain what happened.
So we didn't know, it got so crazy. The FBI, as I said, got involved. I was interrogated several times. And they said, hey, listen, if you remember anything, give us a call, right? If you think of someone. And I was like, I called them one night. I was sitting there with my friend Fred, who was going to be babysitting Jim that day. And we were sitting there smoking weed, drinking beer. And I called the FBI. I said, hey, I think I remember something. And they're like, where are you? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, they didn't give a shit what I was talking about. They just wanted to know where I was. They came over. We're sitting there. The bong's out. The beers are out. Oh, I'm not 21 yet. I'm 19. They did not give a shit. And also I didn't give a shit either. I'm like, yeah, we're smoking. They didn't do anything. But they searched the entire, it was just crazy what we went through. And I get it. They had to rule out the family. It was, this was after, I don't want to change gears too much, but there was a case right before this where someone's children were found killed. And she had made this story up. I forget the name of the woman, and it turned out to be her. And ever since that case, it just, I don't know. Anyway, the connection I drew is like, oh, so they got to check out the family first.
Right.
And I was there that day. It was unusual that I had skipped school, but nothing was found. And they never found anything that, not only with us, but I mean, in general. Right. They didn't know what had happened to him. And then the Miami Police Department got involved. The homicide department got involved trying to figure out like, okay, well, if he's been missing this long, something happened to him.
Right.
And they were finally able to figure out what had happened because Jimmy went missing and left a book bag behind. Like his book bag was missing as well. And it was all over the news. It was national news at the time, but very much a focus of local news. And a woman who lived just a mile away from us had something go missing in her, some jewelry go missing, and also a gun go missing from her place. And she had this guy working for her, and she thought that he might have stolen the jewelry from her and the gun. So she went into his trailer, which was on her property at the time, and what she found the things she was looking for, and she also found my brother's book bag in the closet. And interestingly about the book bag, we had put up missing posters of Jimmy, very famous photo now, and there was a missing poster of him in the book bag as well. And that led to him being picked up and being interrogated, eventually confessing to what he did. He told people what had happened. He had kidnapped Jim while Jim was dropped off at the bus stop that day. He took him to his trailer, raped him, and ended up killing him, shooting him when Jim tried to escape when he heard the helicopters, according to his story, and tried to dispose of the body, and ended up leading people to Jim's body. And man, he was on death row for 20 years. Just a crazy story, but they ended up, so the point is I got a call at like 3 a.m. by the FBI. And it was the strangest call I've ever gotten, even with all the robocalls and the craziness that we get these days. And it was a male FBI officer, and he said, your family needs you. We found Jimmy. And I was like, well, is he okay? And I almost felt like they almost laughed a little bit, like that. And I can only imagine what it must be like to be an FBI officer and having to deal with the worst of the worst, right? Yeah. Serial killers and missing children. I can only imagine. But anyway, his reaction was really strange, and he didn't answer the question. He just said, you need to go be with your family right now. So it was like 3 a.m. I went home, and then we had found out what had happened. Everything was explained to us. And that ended one nightmare, the nightmare of like not knowing what had happened to him, like when someone goes missing, all you want to know is like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Is he okay? Did he just go? Is someone living with him right now?
Is he safe?
Is he dead?
Right. The not
And
knowing part.
it's as hard as it was to hear what had happened to him, I'm glad we know, because it just closes that chapter and ends that open loop. But then another nightmare started, dealing with the reality of all this build up, all the community that tried to help us find Jim, all the craziness that we endured from the multiple interrogations and lie detector tests, and Jim was gone. And it was in a horrible way. He had suffered greatly, as you could imagine, being kidnapped, held against your will, and raped multiple times, and eventually shot and killed. We had to deal with, like, this is what happened to someone who we love so much. And I fell down into a spiral of depression, totally it broke my family and broke me personally. And unfortunately, the story didn't end there. My sister committed suicide. Well, my stepmother died of a heart attack in 2009. And then my sister ended up putting a gun in her mouth and taking her own life in 2013 or 2012. Sorry, right at the end of the year. Not great timing, by the way. I was like getting ready to go out for New Year's, made it through Christmas, and then it was like change. People think that change takes a long time to happen. It's bullshit. You change within seconds. When I learned about my brother, I changed within seconds, instantly, almost instantly. Just takes a while for the chemistry and the stress hormones to kick in. And then when I heard what happened to my sister, same thing. We can talk a little bit later about how change can happen in a positive direction.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people like crushed from this. Like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. I want to go.
There is a happy ending, I will say, and that's why you're on this show, because again, you have managed to reinvent yourself in the aftermath of such unimaginable circumstances. And Ted, listen, I have celebrities, public figures, high-profile CEOs on this show, and you're a celebrity to me. I mean, when I first reached out to you, I actually kind of regret, because I understand how I now understand how that could have been triggering for you. But, I messaged you out of the blue one day with a photo of me on the cover of the Miami Herald when I was just 5 years old, alongside my mom and my brother, Jimmy, who was just a year younger than your brother at the time. And I was photographed praying for you, for your brother, Jimmy, and for your entire family. And again, as strange as this sounds, I've always felt a strong connection to your story. And I think it was just an awakening moment to me and really the entire South Florida community. It captured the nation's attention as to how short and how precious life really is. At your lowest point, I know you realize that the choices you were making in life were only adding to your pain. You and I had discussed this at great length with each other prior to even taping this podcast episode. But again, you resolved to change and to start fresh, to clean the slate and to accept the past. How did you manage to completely reinvent your life?
Yeah. Well, at one point, I think we all know how we feel and how the choices, we all know when we're stuck in a spiral of negativity, just a downward spiral. And I felt that way. And I'm not sure exactly when it was, or if it was one instance, or just thinking about it, because my mind was just fried from what it had been through. But I didn't want to live that way. I was young. I had a whole life ahead of me.
Right.
And I'll tell you what I lived, and we'll talk a little bit about this because my story won't scale for you. Meaning, like, if you listen to this, you're like, well, I don't really relate. Like, I've never had a family member murdered or someone commit suicide. Hopefully not. Maybe you have. Um, so you may not relate to the story or what I do, but I'm going to make it very relatable because there are principles here that work for people. Because my story won't scale for you, in meaning like you can't just do what I did exactly.
Of course.
You haven't been through what I've been through or did what I did and expect it or do you may not do what I did and have it work for you, but the principles work for every human being.
Right. It's not a one
Every
size
human being.
fits all strategy.
Right. And so, but it started with an idea, and the idea was like, life can be better than this. And I've got years ahead of me. Is this how I'm going to be living? And I did get to the point where I was never like looking at a gun. I couldn't afford a gun. I was so broke at one point, but I never thought like, okay, I'm going to take a bunch of pills or anything like that. But I was fading away for sure. And I just didn't want that. We're all going to die anyway. Unfortunately, that's part of the contract we all sign when we're born unknowingly. And that's just it's part of how it's always been, well, maybe not always be, we'll see, being uploaded into into the cloud or whatever. Right. I don't know. But for right now, that's the contract. So I didn't want to live the rest of my life like that. And I started to figure things out. And the first thing I figured out was that health is part of healing, right? Or
absolutely.
One of the ways you can heal yourself is focusing on your health.
Right.
And I got into serendipitously. I bounced around. I dropped out of school, couldn't focus on textbooks after what had happened. My brain was fried from that, fried from the stress. And that's something that we can talk about too, because that's something that will be relatable for every single person listening. Is right. We all have a cup, and if we all have a cup,
your baby Yoda mug.
Exactly. And if
here's my Dunkin' Donuts one.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. And depending on how full our cup is, that's indicative of how much energy we have. And the more empty our cup, the more we take away from ourselves through stress, through overwork, through not taking care of, through neglect.
Right. And you can't pour from an empty cup.
Can't pour from an empty cup. Exactly. And that's what a lot of people try to do. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get my life together, but I didn't have the energy to do it. So how did I fill my cup up? I started focusing on my health. That brought my stress levels down, because what we're really talking about when we're talking about trauma, or we're talking about just a bad fucking day, we're talking about stress.
Yeah.
And stress empties our cup, and we have to proactively put it back in. Another thing, I always struggle with how to tell this, but what I've tell this story of the reinvention. But one thing I learned is this: not only will you have these things happen to you in life, we're all going to have things happen to us. Every single one of us. Best case scenario, you live long enough to see your parents die, and that's going to suck.
Right.
But that's that's part of life. It's how things have been. So what I started realizing is you got to keep your cup full. You have to work on it all the time. And what happens to a lot of people, and what happened to a lot of people in COVID, sometimes it was their fault, sometimes just circumstance, but a lot of people had empty cups and they got smashed with more stress, because that's basically what we had to deal with. And they got worse off as a result.
Right. You know, you and I had a conversation over Zoom back in 2020. We were just getting to know one another. We shared some pretty heavy stuff. Just discussing trauma. Sexual assault, prison, heartbreak, divorce, growing up in Miami, Florida. One question I remember asking you at the time, because I was in a pretty dark place, and Ted, talking to you really was therapeutic for me. I asked you, Ted, how do you pull yourself out of a dark place when you're overcome with feelings of depression or grief on days you just find it hard to get out of bed in the morning? I mean, there's days where I just don't have the motivation to like go work out, and you just sort of sink into this funk. I'm curious, and I think this will absolutely resonate with my viewers and listeners. What do you do when you find yourself slipping back into that negative headspace? What do you do to lift yourself out of that?
So now it's very different. I get the game, right? I understand the process. So the first thing is I'm aware of it. A lot of us, what we don't realize is that we kind of internalize our negative feelings.
Yeah.
Meaning like that's our reality. When in reality, our lives, for most of us, some people have really hard lives. But most of us, our lives are pretty good, but we're having a bad moment.
Right. I get it.
And so realizing that our thoughts, our feelings, they come and go, they change. Some days you're up, some days you're down, but you're the blue sky. You're not the weather.
Right.
Weather changes all the time. Sometimes it's super sunny and the clouds are out and it's beautiful. And other times it's kind of gloomy and there's a light rain. And sometimes there's lightning and storms. But you're that sky that's always there, no matter if it's day or night, whether it's raining or sunny, that's you. And so whenever you start to see the weather change for the negative, you've got to do something to change it.
I love that. Like, oh, I see storm clouds approaching. Time to kick it into high gear. Be proactive. Go lift some weights. Go for a run. Go listen to some music.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. People will hear that. It's like, well, I don't run. You can take that run and shove it nowhere.
Right.
I had a client say that when he was talking about how someone told him what to do when he was very stressed out. But what we have to do is find out, what is that thing for you? And I want to give you an example of this because my dad passed away. Now he was 76, lived a full life, been through a lot, but he had a lot of good moments. And he made it to 76. It was still very tough for me losing my last family member. And I could feel the storm clouds rolling in.
Yeah.
And so after his funeral in Miami, I went to Orlando, went to Universal Studios, and hopped on a roller coaster. Well, actually, a bunch of them. By the way, the Veloci roller coaster, the Velocicoaster in Universal, it's the best roller coaster I've ever been on in my life. But I want to tell you why that matters, because some people are like, what kind of ridiculous, what kind of nutcase goes to, one of the happiest
rides a roller coaster after burying his father. I get it. I totally get it.
You can't be sad on a roller coaster.
It's impossible.
You can't be sad because you're so in the moment. You can be like, oh my God, and you're upside down and it changes your emotional state. Now you might get sad a little bit later. And again, maybe your thing, if you're listening right now, or for you, Jennifer, I don't know how big of a fan of roller coasters you are.
I love them.
You love them?
I'm going to go ride one after this podcast episode, actually.
I love it. Let's go. But
do they still have the Hulk at Universal Studios?
It's
a
little shaky, though.
Do they have?
I feel like
yeah, they need to do maybe some WD-40.
Exactly.
What about
the bearings?
Is Dueling Dragons still there? That was one of my favorites too.
They've changed it to Hagrid's motorbike ride, which is, in my opinion, a superior experience. It's great. You got to go back.
I'll take your word for it. I know I'm long overdue. I've missed Star Wars World, Harry Potter World. There's all these worlds over there now. Maybe we can just go together and call it a day. Whenever we
let's call
each other when we get depressed. How about that? And then we'll just go ride a bunch of rides together.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And here's the problem. Here's one thing. This is key. If you get this, you will start to understand. You will put yourself in control of yourself. What happens? We're never taught how to deal with our negative emotions, and if you don't deal with them, you get caught in the negative spiral.
Right.
Thoughts and feelings negative thoughts and feelings need to lead to negative behaviors, which lead to
Right.
more negative thoughts and feelings.
Right.
That's the downward spiral. And then you wonder, how did I get here?
Right.
But you can also go in an upward spiral. And the key to that is this: you can't think yourself out of a negative emotional state.
Wow.
You can't you can't say, whoa, oh my gosh, why did this happen to me? Or what should I do now? Or, gosh, this is horrible. You can't, you have to go do something. This has to do with a concept called embodied learning. It's the same thing. Like, you can't read a book. You can watch an entire YouTube series on how to ride a bike or drive a car.
Do it.
But you have to do it. That's how human beings learn. It's your way into changing your physiology. Now, some people may say, but I can't even get out of bed, let alone go for a walk or ride a roller coaster. Well, then that's a different situation. You probably need some help, maybe therapy or a coach, or, someone good. A lot of people knock therapists, but I've been in therapy throughout the years. A great therapist will help you, or a great coach will help you.
I've been in therapy for a few years now. Can't recommend it enough. I'm one of those weirdos. Like, I don't even know if this is weird or not, but I firmly believe that everybody should be in therapy, honestly. I think everyone has a form of unresolved trauma in their life in some form or fashion. Maybe others were worse than you. It doesn't matter. But if we don't talk about it, if we don't challenge the stigma, then, you're just going to internalize all of this. Like you said, thoughts become things. Ted, if it's okay with you, I wanted to take a minute to read an Instagram post of yours because of how powerful it is. And it really goes along with what you were just sharing about being at Universal Studios in the aftermath of burying your father. And so here goes. So basically, Ted posted a photo of him at Universal Studios. Great photo, by the way. And if you're not following Ted Ryce, RYCE, on Instagram, social media, Twitter, go do it right now. You won't regret it. But anyway, he wrote, "Have you ever tried being sad on a roller coaster? It doesn't work. Had a great conversation with Jennifer Eckhart yesterday." Why, thank you, Ted. "About getting past tough times when you feel like your life is stuck and never going to get better. During our conversation, I shared how I took a vacation to Universal Studios after my dad died. Why? Because it's impossible to be sad riding a roller coaster. The thrill of the speed and loops drives out all other feelings. You're present in the moment, and your attention is 100% focused on the experience, hoping you'll survive the ride, much like life. This is important because when we're stuck in a negative state of mind, it can feel like it will never end. It can feel like there's no hope of ever feeling anything good ever again, but that's a lie. It just takes one roller coaster ride to disprove this theory our minds come up with. And there's a big difference between feeling stuck and being stuck. And it takes one experience to shift our mood, then we're not as stuck as we think. And more importantly, we have power over how we feel than many of us realize. Don't let negativity overtake you. Yes, grieve and feel your feelings. Cry, scream, and yell if you need to, but always come back. Always come back to your true self." Wow. Ted, when you posted that, I got chills. It actually reminds me, like, one of my favorite movies is Elizabethtown with Orlando Bloom, Suzanne Sarandon. I don't know if you've watched it, but the movie's overall messaging is so powerful about life after loss and how to experience joy in the aftermath of tragedy. And one of my favorite quotes from the movie is, "Sadness is easier because it's surrender. I say, make time to dance alone with one hand waving free."
Yeah, I love that. Exactly.
So besides riding roller coasters, what crazy things, I have to know, because again, when I go on your Instagram, you're either diving with bull sharks or jumping out of planes. What things have you done outside of your comfort zone recently that's really been transformative in how you live your life?
Yeah, well, the bull shark thing, well, I can tell you the stories and happy to, but I'll say this. There's a great quote from the psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the grandfather of flow. So what we're talking about here and what that post refers to in the Instagram post that you read is flow states. How do we come back and be present in the moment instead of like, oh man, really messed up my life. Oh God, think about, oh God, what a crazy, how terrible has my life been? Or worried about the future. Oh, am I going to have my job next week? Is my business going to continue to be successful? I was in an event just over the weekend, and people are doing so well, these entrepreneurs that I was with, but a lot of them have these thoughts like, is the money going to keep coming in? You know, we're having $1 million months, but is that going to keep happening? And you can't control that. And we know that. And guilt doesn't fix the past. Worrying doesn't change the future. Or if worrying does change the future, it's not for the better.
Right.
You've got to be present in the moment. So finding things that get you present in the moment. So Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, I can't remember his quote verbatim.
Name, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, it took a little while to learn how to pronounce that. It's Hungarian. And so what he said was, when we feel our best, it's not usually doing something like watching TV or shoving food in our face, although that can be good, right? I'm loving The Mandalorian
what show.
Other, The Witcher just came out,
Great
season
show
2
also.
Yeah, but when we feel our best, we're doing things that challenge us,
right?
Because that challenge gets us focused. So I do things that challenge me.
Is he the one who said seek more discomfort in your life? Was that from him, or did somebody else coin that phrase? Because I do love that. Because when I think of that, I do think of doing things that make you uncomfortable, that do get you out of your comfort zone and challenge your fears, because it actually in turn does help anxiety.
Right. Now, I don't know if he said that particular one or not, but that would have come from him, right?
Right.
A lot of people say that, seek discomfort. And now we know why, kind of scientifically, why it works. Another thing that happens when we seek discomfort and when we challenge ourselves, so many of us, including a lot of the people I work with who run businesses, right, very successful companies, or they're executives in very successful companies, they still have a lot of anxieties about different things. Now I focus on the health, or at least that's what I trick them into thinking. You know, we lose 20 pounds, but we also work on other things to make sure that there's a full transformation in the process. But the way to lower anxiety in part is through exposure.
Yes.
For example, and this is key, because I'll instead of saying seek discomfort, there's another quote I really like. And this one's by the late mythologist, Joseph Campbell, the late American mythologist, Joseph Campbell. He said, "The cave that you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek." And I don't know what that brings up for you, but for me, what that means is this: we have things in our life that we're afraid of doing. We're afraid to ask the girl out. We're afraid to have that tough conversation with our spouse. We're afraid to face how out of shape we've become.
Yeah.
We all have these fears. And instead of charging forward with ferocity, we shy away from them, because we sense when we get close to even dealing with the problems, developing more awareness, and perhaps thinking of a solution to it, it starts to bring our stress and anxiety up.
Right.
And so we feel bad and we back away. But the reality is, if you feel the stress and anxiety come up, like I do sometimes, when I was in Florianopolis, Brazil, and I was at this peak on a mountain that I had hiked up an hour to get to for the beautiful view, if I fall over, I'm going to die. Right. Or at least be horribly injured. Okay. But you're afraid to step on stage. You're afraid to speak up in a meeting. You're afraid to have that conversation with your spouse. You're afraid to realize and admit how out of shape you've gotten and take steps to fix it. That's the cave that is going to give you the treasure. Because the way we seek treasure, at least most Americans, scrolling on social media.
Of course, in front of screens. Yeah.
In front of screens. On Amazon. Oh, look, guilt.com's having a sale. Maybe that Chanel, that Gucci purse is going to fix some things to me.
Making all these purchases will help me feel better. Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, I love luxury stuff. It's cool. I like things. We all like things.
Yeah.
But things don't make us, things that make us happy for a second. They alter our states for a minute, but they don't alter our traits. And what I mean by that is you put on the new watch. I mean, the truth about people driving Ferraris, like a lot of my clients back in Miami Beach, is it's just their fucking car. It's cool.
It's true.
But it's the car that they go to work in and they come back home in.
You know, a few days before your father died, he told you, Ted, I want you to live a rich life. You shared something, again, on social media, very profound. You said, for me, a rich life means rich in experiences and connection with others. I do recall you saying, look, I like nice cars, clothes, watches, like everyone else does, but we don't evolve through buying stuff. If you're not happy now, there's no house, no car, not even no amount of money or another person that's going to change that. Happiness is an inside job. Recently on your podcast, you shared that there is a magic formula, a magic ratio to happiness and positivity. Are you able to reveal what that is on the Reinvented with Jen Eckhart podcast?
Of course. And it's a little controversial.
That's okay.
The psychologist.
We like controversy on here. Yeah.
And I think I can. So Barbara Fredrickson, a psychologist, did some work into, she studied positivity. And what she figured out was we have a negativity bias or actually other people have figured out human beings have a negativity bias. You get 100 compliments, but that one criticism, that's the one that stands out.
Right.
You get 100 reviews for your business, but that one critical one, you're like, wow.
Eats away.
Happens to me on my podcast, happens to us. And why are we like that? Well, back in the day, our brains, they're designed to detect threats because happy moments are awesome, but a threat could end you.
Right. Right. It's true.
But today we're not really worried about, at least in America, we're not really worried about our lives are not in danger. It's more this stressful thing, this social stress.
If we don't go to war with Russia.
Exactly. I'm not the one to talk about that. I don't know about politics. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But exactly, if that doesn't happen, but most of or you don't get COVID, for example, right? But when it comes to where our brains are wired for this, and a lot of people, if you've had like a tough childhood, or you've been through something in adulthood that was pretty tough, a divorce, someone cheated on you, whatever it is, or like what you've been through, Jennifer, that can make you a little more prone to negativity. Why? That's your body trying to protect you. You're trying to be more on guard about threats in your environment.
Oh, I live in a state of hypervigilance. I'm always waiting for the next shoe to drop. And it's really something you have to work at every day. It's not like flipping a light switch and it goes away. I mean, it's difficult. It's hard.
So how do we bring that hypervigilance back down? And the key is Barbara Fredrickson figured out, well, for every negative event in your life, you need to have at least 3 positive events to cancel it out. Now, I want to talk about this because if you're in a relationship where you have an abusive spouse, do you really just, you get punched in the face and you just need to go to a few dinners,
cancel it out,
have sex, go out to dinner and watch a movie, and then doesn't work that way. So that's been some of the criticism, but I think the point is really important. And actually, there's a psychologist, John Gottman, who has a similar ratio with relationships. One negative event in a relationship needs 5 positive ones. Now, whether it's 3, whether it's 5, the point is this: you've got to realize that if you've been through a lot of negativity, you've got to go for you've got to proactively seek out more positive experiences. But here's another key. Someone would say, whoa, I'm just, chocolate is delicious. That's a positive experience for me.
For me, it is. Yeah. Some Ben and Jerry's. That's a good day.
Cookie dough.
Yeah.
The Tonight Dough by Jimmy Fallon,
Milk and
Ben and Jerry's
cookies.
flavor,
Milk and cookies is a good one. Although it's really weird. We're having like an ice cream theft problem here in Manhattan.
Interesting.
They're having, when you go into like a Dwayne Reed or a Rite Aid, they're having to put locks on the freezers because people are legit just walking out with ice cream. So yeah, it's quite a problem here in New York City, in case you ever come here and decide to purchase ice cream. So
I'm going to come visit. I've got a friend there who lives in Queens and some very good friends who live in Manhattan. So I'm there. It's just a matter of time. But I won't. And absolutely, we need to meet in person. Absolutely. So listen, even that story you just said, why do people do everything that they do? They're either trying to get away from pain or they're seeking pleasure. Yeah. So people are stealing this ice cream, trying to feel better about themselves. And that's not making it okay. I'm just trying, I'm not sympathetic for them, but I'm empathetic, trying to understand like what's driving the behavior.
Why exactly.
And that's not a positive thing, because you get arrested. It's not good for it doesn't improve your life. So the thing is this, we've got to go out of our way to really seek out those positive experiences. And like what I was alluding to earlier, a lot of the experiences it's not about positive experiences. It's about experiences that lead to positive change.
Yes.
That there's a big difference there, because we could, I'll just go out to eat 3 times today. That will, counterbalance the hard talk I had with my employee. It's not quite like that. You've got to do things that challenge you and lead to not just a change in your mood. That's what alcohol does. That's what ice cream does. But there's a side effect. You become an alcoholic if you use alcohol to deal with your stress. If you eat too much to deal with your stress, you become fat and unhealthy. So we've got to find the ways that don't just change our state, because then we have to keep going back. You can't drink enough alcohol. You can't eat enough food. It doesn't solve the problem, is what I'm trying to say. We need to become better versions of ourselves, and that's through things that are usually quite difficult. I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm doing a cave diving certification. Sometimes I don't even like it.
Ashwanga? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
What is that?
Ashwanga? Didn't you share a story about when you did a mushroom or something in a
ayahuasca?
Wow. Really.
Ashwagandha is a what you call it, an herb
that helps with managing stress, exactly, and anxiety. What you did is totally different, but legend has it
also
help with trauma. So
yeah, and that's something that I did. It was extremely challenging. I mean, that would be
this isn't tread lightly. This isn't for everyone.
I do believe it can benefit most people, but certainly to say that, you're going through a hard time in life, just go to Costa Rica or Peru or Brazil, drink some ayahuasca, it'll fix everything for you. You've got to already be on the path, because ayahuasca, that's a peak experience. But if you're not doing the work already, maybe working with a therapist or a coach, or, exercising, meditation, getting acupuncture, regular massages, whatever it is for you, whatever that self-care is for you, actual self-care, not caramel cone ice cream,
right?
Not stealing ice cream out of Rite Aid, right?
Do it the responsible way.
Yeah. And so if you're already on that journey, and it can take you to the next level, it certainly did for me, and for a lot of the people who who I went through those experiences with. But there's not, you might want to start with other things first.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, speaking of bettering yourselves, a lot of high profile business leaders and entrepreneurs either come on this podcast or tune in. And I wanted to ask you, as someone who helps your clients develop and stick with high performance, healthy habits to lead more successful lives, it's easy to lose focus of your personal health when running a business. I mean, just the other day, I was speaking to a CEO who was running off to a client dinner, and he was like, "Oh, but I wanted to get in a workout in, and I don't have time." And I'm like, "Sure you do. wake up an extra hour early, or, try to, it's all about, like, if you want to play the long game in business, it's really in your best interest to take your personal health and make it a priority. And it really is all about time management and stress management. What is the secret to staying fit as a busy entrepreneur?
Ooh, the real secret there is to, and this is going to sound totally self-serving, but I believe it's the answer.
Okay.
You got to get someone like me to hold you accountable. Doesn't have to be me, but you got to get someone to show you the strategies to keep you accountable if you're not able to do it on your own, or if you're looking for that next level.
Right.
But you've got to make it a commitment. And you said, if you want to play the long game in business, but there is no other game in business. There is only the long game, unless you're, unless you're a person.
If you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Exactly. I've got unfortunate stories where people decide. I had a client in Miami Beach who ended up dying because not because my workouts were so tough.
I was going to say,
geez, what kind of HIIT training are you doing over there? No, it wasn't like that, but he had neglected his health to the point, and he would come late to train with me. He would leave the sessions early. Now, I don't put up with that behavior anymore, but I was in my 20s when this happened. And I liked the guy. He was a good guy, but it was business, business, business. We eventually, that type of attitude, he just stopped training with me. He put me in a situation where I was going to have to drive a long way to his office to train. I'm like, I'm not going to do that, or you're going to pay extra for it. He didn't want to pay extra. I said, yeah, well, I can't do that. He was looking for a way to get out, though, is what I felt. Yeah. Come to find out, a few months later, he got diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. He's no longer with us. And so what you got to ask yourself is this, right? What do you want your life to look like when you retire, or in 10 years, or whatever that endpoint is for you? Right. What is it that lights you up inside? Because taking care of your health isn't about, oh, it's the right thing to do. It may or may not be. I'm not here to make a moral argument about it. All I'm saying is, if you want to play with your grandchildren, if you want to keep speaking on stages, if you want to run a company, or at least be on the board and be a contributing member, you got to keep your mind sharp. You got to keep your body in shape to do that.
Right.
And that's the foundation for health. It's not supposed to be, oh gosh, it's not supposed to be something where here's what you really care about, but hey, stop caring about that thing. Care about health instead. No, it's something that you do because it provides the foundation for all the things that you really care about. I don't love lifting weights, right? To be honest, I love it.
Yeah. And that's a personal trainer saying that, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't like lifting weights, but he does it. And you're in great.
Yeah, technically, I guess I'm a health coach. I don't count reps anymore. But exactly, right? You have to realize it's the foundation for all the things that you want to do. If family's your number one thing, what's going to help you play with your kids or go on those trips and not be the person who like, oh, well, we can't walk up. We can't do the Grand Canyon thing or the zip line because I'm too out of shape, right? Or the kayaking, whatever it might be.
What do you make of the idea of people saying, well, you're in your prime, so, you should be in good shape? I mean, that's always made me stop and scratch my head a bit, because, you hear like, oh, you're young, you're fit, you're in your 20s or you're in your 30s. But like, I know guys who are in their 50s who are in the better shape that they were when they were in their 30s. So is there really what's the math behind that? What have you found? Is there really an age component there? I mean, can you really get in your best shape at any age?
Great question. So at any age, you can improve your cardiovascular health. You can build muscle and you can lose fat. Your metabolism doesn't change. That's BS. It's not true. Oh. When you get to about 60, some things start to change.
Right.
But even then, you can go online and you'll see bodybuilders in their 60s and 70s or even 80s or 90s actually doing it. Most of us, unless without the help of technology, probably won't even make it to 90. So it's like, you can build muscle, you can lose fat, you can get in better shape at any age. It's not stopping you. It might make it harder, but what usually makes it hard is not the things that we think, oh, it's my genes or my metabolism, my age, my hormones, premenopausal, postmenopausal, low T, andropause. What's really the problem is that as we've gotten older, we have more responsibility. More responsibility usually equals more stress. Mm-hmm. And we don't have the things that we used to do to blow off stress. It also means that we have more money usually, and we're out to dinner, we're eating a lot more, and we've gotten comfortable in our ways. And there's nothing, I love restaurants with the chef's name on the dessert menu. Eating out is, I'm a foodie, if you want to call it that, or connoisseur of good cuisine.
I get it.
But, those are usually, it's usually behavior. Our behaviors are the thing that really shift, and also our mood, right? We don't feel as good because of the state that we've gotten ourselves into. And we know that obesity, people talk about obesity in our society. I don't want to open up a can of worms, but the focus is on the metabolic health. And that's true. That's proven by the best evidence we have, the best science we have. And I also believe in accepting yourself and everything, but the numbers are what the numbers are. You can be a smoker and on your way to an early death, mm-hmm. but still be a person who, makes a positive impact in other people's lives and so on. But it's not good for your metabolic health being overweight. At another level, if you work with your brain, which entrepreneurs and executives do, we know that the more body fat you have on you, the less effective your brain is. So we know that there's a part of your brain, the CEO of your brain, called your prefrontal lobe. That's the seat of what's called your executive function. I just like to call it the CEO of your brain, because it's
actually, they should make that an actual biology term.
It's the CEO. See this part of your brain? That's the CEO right there. Yeah. And it's the seat of like, hey, I want to say no to temptation. I want to stay focused on my goals. I have these things that I'm trying to do. Everything that you want to do in life is that. All the things like I want to be a good parent. But then we have the other part that's like, eat the cookie, drink the alcohol, just lay in bed and take it easy.
Right.
You don't need to get up. And so we have this
at the bottom for those extra McDonald's fries. You can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And when we have this tug of war, and the more overweight you are, the more you're going to lose the battle between the CEO and, let's say, the angel and the devil on your shoulder, right? You're going to give in to more temptation, and it makes it, and it's this loop where it can be really hard to get out of.
Something you said a while back that really struck me. If you want to recapture your youth, the best gift you can give yourself isn't a Corvette or a Ferrari. The best gift you can give yourself is to get into the best shape of your life. I so wish that more business leaders, especially those in corporate America, adhered to this, because I think it would probably fix a lot of problems in a lot of people's lives. It would really change us for the good as a society. You, as somebody who specializes in helping people over the age of 40 lose weight, you are on the record saying losing fat is simple and 100% doable for every single person. But what makes it complicated is our unmanaged stress, poor sleep, and just unreasonable expectations. Even with the best diet and fitness routine, if your sleep is off, like, you're wrecked. And I know I even feel that same way. Even just taping a podcast interview, if I don't sleep well the night before, the interview is going to suck. So, I mean, why is sleep the number one most important thing for a better body?
So I would say that stress and sleep are really closely related. I'll say it like this: with sleep, you're just like a car needs the oil change, or if you're driving a supercar, needs to be taken out and run at high speeds. You can't just let it sitting in your garage. It needs a certain level of care. And we know what it needs because there's a manual.
Right.
When you're born, you don't get that manual for like how to take care of your body. And we didn't know what it was. And over time, that manual has been written. And now we know that sleep, it's just one of those things that if you short sleep yourself, you're going to lower your testosterone levels. You're going to lower your brain functioning, how sharp you are, your decision making. You're going to be more irritable. Obviously, there's some individual parts to this, some individualization here. Some people may just be more tired and not so irritable, but you're going to be suboptimal, and there's just no way to get around it. People have tried. There was this, I forget what it was called, polyphasic sleep, where you only sleep an hour, then you wake up, do some work, go to sleep for an hour and wake up. I forget what it was called. People have tried. There's no hack. There's no supplement. There's no workout. There's no diet that can make up for quality sleep. Right. It's just one of those things that we need. It's also one of those things that we try to short when we want more time.
Right.
When to do the things we think are so important, but usually it ends up backfiring.
Yeah, you can think you're Superman, Superwoman, but without getting a certain amount of sleep and taking care of yourself, you're gonna be wrecked. It's gonna be a wreck. But I am curious, as we wrap up here, as a leading personal trainer and peak performance health coach, I have to say, like, you've worked with people from all walks of life, but also a few celebrities, namely Richard Branson, Ricky Martin, live in La Vida Loca in Miami, Robert Downey Jr. Assuming you didn't sign an NDA, is there a funny or interesting story you can share from working with one of them with my viewers and listeners?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing that I share with people. Like, I was in a group of an entrepreneur group over the weekend, and they were talking about how they spent, I forget what it is, $10,000 or $20,000 to go visit Richard on Necker Island to network. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably the only person here who Richard Branson actually paid to spend time with, while you guys are, dropping thousands. But, but when I met Richard,
dirt off your shoulder a bit there. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. So anyway, when I met Richard, when I walked in, he's like, well, you're a fit bastard. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a good session.
Those were the first words out of his mouth. Wow.
Yeah. I walked in, he's like, oh, you're a fit bastard. I'm like, oh, cool. Thank you.
Right. I don't know if that's a backhanded compliment but hey, I'll take it.
Very English. So I took it as a compliment, but yeah, exactly. And it was cool to spend time with him. I spent a lot of time, probably my favorite person was Robert. Robert was super cool. It was right as he was getting in shape for the Ironman role.
Wow.
And one thing so I was in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time. I was a competitor, and Robert, as many of his fans know, like, he was into the Wing Chun, the Bruce Lee martial art. Mm-hmm. And I think he had just started, if I remember correctly. And as we were training, we were out in this condo that he was staying in, and they had a nice turf out there to do some drills, some sprints, and some other things. And all of a sudden he started with the Wing Chun, because we've been talking about martial arts. And I lowered my level, grabbed his ankle, and put him on his butt in a few seconds. And he was like, oh, I was like, I told you this stuff works, man. Because he's coming at me with the punches and everything. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is better than Wing Chun.
How does it feel to just put Iron Man on his ass like that? I mean, that's got to count for something. You should put that on a resume.
He wasn't wearing the suit, in his defense. He was wearing athletic shoes and Lululemon or whatever. So
yeah, you had a little bit of an advantage. I get it. Well, Ted, I knew you'd kick ass on this podcast. I worked in corporate media, as you know, for a national network for nearly a decade prior to launching this podcast. I never imagined where life would take me, but as you alluded to earlier, sometimes in the waves of change, we do find our true direction. And that certainly rings true for you as well. I mean, I get emotional listening to you share your story, talk about your health and how you got to where you are today, because I'm just so awestruck by your bravery and your resilience and your vulnerability and standing tall and sharing it with the world. And I also know that your family is so proud of you today and the man that you've become.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's been a pleasure.
You inspire me beyond belief in that not only were you able to reinvent yourself, but you're now paying it forward by sending the elevator back down to those in need of rebuilding their lives, bodies, and mindsets. So if you are, in need of losing weight and just want to get healthy again, get fit mentally, physically, reach out to Ted Ryce. He really is the man. Let people know how they can find you, how they can book you. Just promote yourself.
Sure. The best place, if you feel like health is that cave that you have been fearing to enter, you need to make a change. The best thing to do is go to legendarylifeprogram.com/apply. legendarylifeprogram.com/apply. That's where you can book a 15-minute call with me, and we can take it from there. If that's what you feel like you're being called to do right now, you want to get it handled, and you have a big goal for yourself, because if you just want to lose 5 pounds, I'm not the person for you, 5 or 10 pounds. But if you want to make a dramatic change in not just how you look, but how you feel, your energy levels, and crush your stress, and that's the best place to go.
And who better than you? Ted, thank you so much for taking the time to come on Reinvented to just share a bit of your story and how we can all get fit. I'm going to go for a run right now, if that's okay with you.
Do it.
I don't know about you, but I do plan on hitting the gym actually after this podcast. I got to shed some of that extra holiday weight that we all put on.
I go for a workout or walk every single day.
I love it. Well, thank you again, Ted. And you listen to all my viewers and listeners, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Reinvented with Jen Eckhart. That's available wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, it's there. I'm Jen Eckhart. That was Ted Ryce. Thank you for listening.